I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option. As Sori says, $125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. $125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and you get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at vinsori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish. Rubbish.
That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go on the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
And the child shall lead them to buy our merch.
Yes, we are doing a song for Daniel. This one, Vinny, you read it.
What?
Satyricon.
It's Satyricon. Hvite, Krists dod, which I have no idea, but that probably means something about Christ being dead. So,
But we have the English lyrics here, so we shall see.
Yes, we shall see. Shout out to the big homie Florian. And he called my name because his name sounds like Dorian. We're currently doing a live stream on Facebook because we normally do a live stream on YouTube, but YouTube has blocked our live stream capabilities for the time being because you know how we don't cut our videos up. I purchased a live stream from a particular band, and so I spent the $30, bought the ticket, and then live streamed it so that you beautiful people could watch it. And about, 20 minutes in, it got taken down. We got a copyright strike on the channel, and then ever since then, we haven't been able to live stream. But never you fail, because I still have different methodologies of getting you guys some pretty amazing content, and that's coming pretty soon. So just because they stopped us from live streaming for a while does not mean that we're going to abandon the idea, because we're not. Okay. Let's do this. This is the band Satyricon. This is for the big homie Daniel. Shout out to Daniel. This should be very, 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 very interesting. Satyricon, let us go. was that tremolo. What year was this?
Og hver tone i hans skalle, hver spiker i hans kropp, gir liv til nye sjeler, født under dødens mektige.
Wow. I think it's there. Like souls born of the mighty throne of death. No! No, go back! Go back! Sound like Mortal Kombat. And a song.
Ooh.
It's that last line. This song is the last note of a tune song.
Wow.
Ugh. What's interesting is that's the first record on the album.
The first song on the album?
It's the first song on the record. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so I put up the translation there kind of mid-song so that people could like
Yeah, I thought that was good.
try to follow along.
I actually liked the one you had better because it like did it side by side.
Yeah.
But it was so tiny because your computers are there. I couldn't see.
Mine was also more accurate than yours.
Yeah. I liked it way
yours
better.
actually left out the first line.
I would. Which
It started
site
in
were
the
you
second
on?
line. I was on Music Match. So the first line is the fight against God and Christ is on. That's the first line.
Interesting.
Yeah, which is a really it's a really interesting thing to start your song off. A lot of times when these guys are making satanic music, they don't realize that they're affirming a lot of what the Bible says. Mm-hmm. So the fight is against God and Christ. So Psalm chapter 2 starts off with, "Why do the nations rage and the peoples plot in vain? The kings of the earth set themselves and the rulers take counsel together against Yahweh, God, and his anointed."
Yep.
Which is literally Moshiach, or in Greek is Christos. This is where we get the term Christ from. So Psalm 2 starts off with the kings of the earth and the rulers taking counsel together against the Lord and his anointed, which is against God and Christ.
Right.
So the song starts off.
The song starts that way.
The song starts off that
Yep.
way. And what's interesting is
That's so weird. When I read it, that's why I was like, huh? Just now, when you said the fight against God and Christ is on, I thought they were saying they had a God and it was going to fight against Christ. But they're saying they're fighting against the whole system.
Right. And Jim goes, "Not me. I'm on the side of the two big homies." Olaf, my brother, do me a favor, Olaf. If you have a better translation, that would be legit. Maybe Olaf can translate, because I'm assuming he's a native speaker. Maybe he can translate them, and then we'll pin the first comment with the actual real lyrics from the big homie Olaf.
Okay. And he said a bunch of things up there.
Okay,
so this song, forever we remember the brave who lived under the hammer of our flock. Eternal is the war against those of light until they meet the face of death, the cold of death. Cold winds will come to freeze the Christian's blood. Our crusade has begun and every step is a stake through white Christian's heart. We burn God's children on the fire. We burn the house of God.
Which this was in 94, and that was That's why I think the church burnings were happening in the early 90s.
Okay. I thought it said something about the Dark Crusades, but that was on the other one.
No, I think type in crusade there. I'm pretty sure he mentioned the term crusade. Yeah. Our crusade has begun, and every step is a stake through the white Christians. There it is. When the crusaders dangled and the spirit of Christ is dead.
The other one said the Dark Crusade.
Yeah, the Dark Crusade has begun or whatever. The darkness of the veil must cover the sun.
I wonder... Well,
That's
when
a
the
good
other
line.
one said the Dark Crusades had begun, I thought this was not when the church burnings were happening recently, but way back when the Crusades were happening. Like to retaliate against the Crusades, to go after the Christians.
Yeah, the Crusades really didn't affect Norwegian people.
Oh. Okay.
Like the Crusades were directly about Islamic aggression, and everybody that was caught up on the way, like for example, the Jews unfortunately got treated very horribly on the way to crusading for obvious reasons. But the term crusade, since that episode in history, has been used almost in a universally pejorative sense, other than with Christians. So like you had Campus Crusade for Christ.
Yeah.
And like it was only in the Christian subculture where that term was a positive term. Everybody else, the term crusade had a negative connotation.
Yeah, that's true.
That just shows you the ridiculous nature of evangelicalism.
Yeah.
You know, but I think after 9/11, people
Like not
became...
feeling for other people. Holy moly.
I think after 9/11, people became, you know, and especially American evangelicals, we were forced to be more globally minded. And so after 9/11, you didn't hear Crusader language much anymore in a positive sense. Yeah, because obviously it was Christians fighting Muslims was crusade. So after 9/11 and then the war on terror, it was essentially Christians fighting Muslims. So the Muslims were using the term crusader. So in Afghanistan, they would use it over on comms, and in Iraq, I mean, the official government of Iraq was saying the Crusaders.
Really?
Oh yeah. At the very, very beginning.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the very beginning. That was the main thing that they were called was Crusaders. And especially Saddam all of a sudden rekindled his Islamic nature and all the rest of it, and he started doing all this stuff, and then, you know, he was like, oh, the Crusaders are coming, because everybody knew we were going to invade Iraq, yada yada yada. So ever since then, the term Crusader has been, you know, after 9/11. It's a very, very interesting term.
I can't believe I never put that together.
What?
Like, obviously, I've heard of the Crusades, and I've heard of Campus Crusades for Christ, and I never pieced together how offensive that could be. Like, and like, why would you use that word? But that's just, I don't know. It like reminds me of that show we were just watching.
Yeah,
get
we were drowning Jews, you know, and as a form of baptism. And I think it was Tommy Lauren, one of these edgelord, you know, right wingers, was like, they were talking about waterboarding, which is literally torture, which is a violation of the Geneva Convention. And she was like, well, we had different methods of, we used to call that baptism. Like she calls it a joke. It's waterboarding where you angle this guy at like 45 degrees, put a thing, and it simulates drowning. And you can literally die from waterboarding. So, like, and then she comes back and says, like, oh, we used to baptize people. It's
what
like,
does it do? Simulate drowning
it
for over
simulates
an
drowning.
extended period of time, so you're just forever drowning?
You're drowned. You're at the edge of the drowning, and then they pull it off of you, and I mean, it can go on for hours. I mean, it's like you could. It's a pretty, you know. And people go, oh, that's complete. You know, like that guy was on the Joe Rogan show. Yeah. Remember? And he was a Green Beret dude. He was like, oh, I got waterboarded. Of course, you get waterboarded after selection, whatever. And when you do SEER school, you know, you get found and tortured and all the rest of it. But the thing is, you know, the whole thing
what I was gonna say. You know,
is a game.
Yeah.
And you know those people aren't going to kill you, or they're going to try their best not to kill you. And you just know it's at some point it's going to end. Yeah. And you're going to get your Green Beret and you're going to be fine. Yeah. Like, that's completely different from being siphoned off into some black site somewhere in Yemen.
Oh, absolutely. It's not even comparable.
It's not comparable at all. And you know, it was Tim something, or a UFC guy. I mean, he was on Joe Rogan, and Joe was like, "Nah, bro, it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing at all."
I do this weird thing whenever I'm at the hospital, almost every time, and they come like with their little gadgets that they're going to use to fix a problem or to help me out, and I switch my mind and pretend that I'm a Jew. And then I'm in one of those things where they're going to actually experiment on me, and all the tools that they come in become like just terrifying. And then I'm like, okay, no, it's not. These are actually nice people and they're actually helping. And it's like weird to like flip your mind that way because these people went through that. And so this is kind of like, to me, that's kind of a similar thing. You know, you've got, if you're in the mindset of it, like you said, you know that it's not something that they're trying to kill you with. That's different than these are your enemies and they are using this tool against you.
And they hate you.
Right, exactly.
They hate you. So, yeah. And God help you if you truly don't have any information. And some of these terrorist outfits are extremely sophisticated. So, a lot of the times these dudes legitimately don't know. They just say, go here, do this.
Yeah.
They replicate we have the same. So, yeah, anyway. So that's what the term crusader, is from. But the way the song starts is it harkens back. Immediately made me think of Psalm 2. Mm-hmm. The people's plot against the Lord and against his anointed. Mm-hmm. And then the very next line says, he who sits in the heavens laughs. The Lord holds them in derision. Mm-hmm. Then he will terrify them in his anger and destroy them in his fury. So it's a very interesting thing because there's all this animosity towards God and towards God's people. And that's how they start off the record. Mm-hmm. When it talks about, we make our death journey to the land of death with the endless expanses, souls born under the mighty throne of death. Mm-hmm. And every thorn in his skull, every nail in his body give life to new ones. Which is true in a way that is probably not what he intends, but I'm assuming what he's saying is every thorn in his skull, every nail in his body gives life to new ones, which would be new nails and new thorns, which would, I'm assuming he's saying, are people who are against, the light or whatever. That makes any sense.
Oh, I thought it was, and I'm not even sure I understand what you just said. To me, when he said every thorn in his skull, every nail in his body gives life to new ones, it was saying that as they were torturing the Christians and they were, doing those things to them, it was giving life to the people around that had been under, because I thought this is about the Crusades. Like this is in retaliation to the Crusades. So I thought it was every time that they retaliate, it like gives life back to them because they had been so oppressed.
Well, every thorn in his skull. I
mean,
that's a singular person.
Yeah, a Christian that they were torturing at the time. That's what I thought it was.
Yeah,
and
I
so
think he's no
Christ.
Well,
what are you saying?
Yeah, I mean, it's not common to torture Christians by putting thorns in their skull, but Jesus wore he obviously wore a thorn crown. So, which obviously, there's a lot of significance to Jesus wearing a crown of thorns from a biblical perspective, because the first time that you hear thorns mentioned, it's in regard to the curse, because Adam was supposed to work the land and the land yielded all these crops or whatever, but then because of the curse, God basically said the land is now going to fight back. When you try to make it work for you, it's going to fight back, and then thorns and thistles and all the rest of it. So then when you fast forward to Jesus, he's being crucified. He's bearing the curse literally in his body by these thorns, because the thorns were the first thing that mankind was cursed on. He was cursed with thorns before death. Death was the last of the curse. The first part of the curse for Adam was thorns, and sure enough, Christ is bearing thorns in his head. So it's a very Sandre agrees with me. The thorn thing is about Jesus. This is why we do live interaction. So from our vantage point, he's right. Every thorn and every nail in his body did give life to new ones. Jesus wearing the crown of thorns ensures that thorns are temporary. Right? So he all of that goes into the ground with Jesus when he's buried. So he takes all the anger, the rage, the hate of mankind, the wrath of God, the curse in the universe, all of that he takes on himself and he puts it in the ground, and then he comes up as a new humanity and the promise of a new universe and a new world. Basically, which is the same world only without the curse. So like, who would we be without the curse? Like, and actually, one of the really interesting things I've ever seen about that type of transformation was the live action Beauty and the Beast thing that we saw that one time, where at the end everybody turned into what they really were. So like the candelabra became a person, and all these, they became actual people. And the world we're in, like, we don't actually see each other for what we actually are, and obviously that goes to the Hoffman stuff. Because there's a curse, or you could say there's there's a virus in the computer program that's distorting reality. And so Jesus comes in as kind of like the Neo that goes in there, and his job is to basically destroy the virus so that the program can run the way that it's supposed to run, right? And so Jesus dying in that way is basically the reboot of the system, right? So all these things where it's like, oh, we're up against God in Christ. It's like, okay, great. Like, the Bible addresses that, and it says that God laughs at you when you do it. Now, like, I'm not mad. That's one of the things, like, I never get mad when I hear these lyrics. Well, first of all, I'm like, well, historically, these people have a right to be angry at Christians and Christianity. People always like, why is it always, like, I hear all the time, like, people go, how come every time somebody disses somebody, it's always Christianity? That means that Christianity is true. Well, not necessarily. Like, one explanation could be the second biggest religion on the planet is Islam, and everybody knows what's going to happen if you go and make fun of Islam.
Right.
They'll kill you.
Right. Right.
Like, more people are not saying stuff about Islam because they'll kill you. Like Charlie Hebdo. Like, and everybody knows, like, I'm a lover of Muslims, but they'll kill you. So the fact that there's so much literature and media that's anti-Christian doesn't mean that Christianity is true. It just means that we are a safe group of people to make fun of. And we've got enough felonies in our history to where you could say, well, you deserve it. Right. Especially considering...
Don't act like the victim here.
We came from the most peaceful person ever. Like, and I don't care what side you're on. Most people generally say, yeah, Jesus was pacifistic and very, very peaceful. But a lot of people who name his name are extremely violent. Yeah. So, you know, and it's a really interesting idea, you know, the pacifism of Christ that you see in the Gospels, and then the violent nature of Christ that you see in Revelation 19, who's covered in head to toe in the blood of his enemies. I remember the first time I showed you that. Yeah. It was Isaiah 66, and then it's like, who is this person who's coming with red robes from Bozrah, blah blah blah, and the person responds and says, I'm by myself because there was no one to help the Lord against his enemies. So I went and I crushed the enemies of the Lord and their blood spattered against my garments. And that's why my garments are red. And that gets picked up in Revelation 19 and gets applied to Christ. Mm-hmm. So in the Gospels, you have a very pacifistic person who won't hurt a fly and will not defend himself when he's being crucified. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of the Bible, you have this picture of this guy who is covered in the blood of his enemies. and so Jordan Peterson, of course, didn't understand the OT background to Christ. Yeah. So that's my kid saying that he buried their best friend, and I'm like, what? So yeah, you see what I'm saying?
They're doing the sand up to their neck.
Yeah.
On the beach.
But
yeah. You were talking about Jordan Peterson, and what did he say about it?
Well, Peterson obviously didn't understand the Old Testament background of Christ, right? And so because of that, he basically looks at Revelation as basically the New Testament authors made Jesus too nice.
So then it was like...
So you had to have Jesus in Revelation to balance it out, because Jesus in Revelation is mean, according to... Of course, Jordan Peterson doesn't understand that Jesus, while he was on earth, said a bunch of stuff. He said, I'm going to send my soldiers and kill those murderers and burn their city. He said that while he was on the earth. So the duality of Christ is mind-boggling. But because people don't read the Gospels for themselves, they have a set picture of who Jesus was. He was nice, and he was, he'd pet sheep and all the rest of it. And Jesus said a lot of crazy stuff. But essentially what he told his followers was, your mission on the earth is simply to tell the message. Leave the violence to me. Because I'm the only one that can distribute justice to the exact degree of what deserves justice.
Yep.
And I think
and he doesn't just judge it by the outward actions of a person. He judges it by the inward heart of what they're doing.
Which is damn near impossiple to figure out how to do, right? Like
we were just talking the other day, and I was like, why do you think he's wearing that?
Right.
Whatever.
Right.
The guy was wearing a cross, but it matched his outfit perfectly. And I was like, do you think when he puts that cross on, he's thinking about like everything that was accomplished on the cross, or do you think that he's putting it on because it matches his outfit? So it's more of a fashion thing for him than like a theological thing. And then he was like, well, I don't try to judge people's motives.
Well, that's because I barely know my motives for stuff.
That's true. I can.
And like, even if you like look at like what's happening today, like the Micaiah Bryant situation, like these police killings, right? It's like, the excuse usually is you don't know what you would do in that situation, which is usually it's an excuse, and it's not a very good one, but it's still true to a degree. And to me, the Micaiah Bryant situation looks like an open and shut case. Like the cop did exactly the right thing, right? Yeah. Like, but to other people, they're saying, and so that logic is applied in the New Testament to basically say, when you're talking about distributing justice, specifically in regards to permanent distributions of justice, like killing people, the New Testament tells God's people, that's out of your jurisdiction. Just just state the message and leave the killing to God. Because he knows who needs killing and who deserves killing and who doesn't, and all the contingencies and exigencies that create those situations. Leave it to God. And there's a very interesting phrase in Romans 12, where Paul is trying to get his Roman counterparts to be pacifistic because they're being persecuted. And he says, bless and do not curse. And then he says, leave room for the wrath of God. So you're hearing all this stuff about people killing Christians, blah, 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 blah. And it's like the response is pray for your enemies, pray for those who persecute you, preach the message, love your enemy, and leave room for the wrath of God. If they don't if they don't repent of this horrible shit they're doing to you, God's going to show up and wreck shop. And then Psalm 2 continues by saying, I'll tell of the decree. The Lord said to me, you are my son, today I've begotten you. Ask of me, and I will give you the nations as your inheritance and the ends of the earth for your possession. And then it says, you will crush them with a rod of iron and destroy them like a potter's vessel. And then it says, now therefore, kings, be wise, be warned, O rulers of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear, rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry and you perish in the way. So, like, this is some real gangster shit, bro.
Yeah, it is.
Like, he's going to the rulers of the earth and saying, you better kiss the Son, lest he be angry and you perish in the way. His wrath is quickly kindled. Like, so Jesus is this really massively compelling figure, especially as it relates to violence. He shows up on the earth. He lives a completely pacifistic life, tells his followers, take up your cross and follow me. So we're supposed to do all the dying, and the pagans are supposed to do all the killing. And then he says, listen.
You should just check that because they're having that.
Then he says, listen. No, it's just somebody wants to see the babies. Okay. And then he says, okay, so you're going to deny yourself, take up your cross and follow me. Right? Like, period. Okay, so we're going this way. We're going to die a brutal death, and you're never supposed to fight back. And then he says, don't worry, I will show up and kill the people who are doing this to you if they don't repent. And obviously we believe that he did, that he showed up overhead in the sky right before 70 AD, and he destroyed that entire city as he said he was going to.
Yep.
And that's like historically documented.
Yeah.
So one of these days I'll shoot a video on that, but I want it to be
really interesting.
It's really, really cool stuff. And so, like, if you were a god, you would sit and laugh if somebody said that they were going to go after you and your son.
Well, yeah, especially when you know you've got all the cards.
You got all the cards. These guys were amazing. The reason is it started off like true cult black metal, right?
I know. I was like
it started off
I was like when it started, and then I was like, well, I guess it'll be like a 6.2, and then it was like, I was like, well, I don't know. I mean, maybe like a 7.5.
Yeah.
And then it like literally kept climbing until I got to my final number. I was very, very amazed. I loved what they did with it. There was parts of it that changed where it became like sweet sounding, and then there was
then
still
he had that
like
spoken word part.
Yes, and then there was like a death dance sort of sound. Like I was picturing like this like dance, but it was like a dance of death. It was like, I don't know. It was very interesting.
And that's what they said at the end. This is the last note of a tomb song, which I'm assuming is a death song or a grave song, because the word is grav sung.
Yeah.
So I'm
Grave
assuming
song.
that's grave song or death song. So
so
which is
what I pictured was accurate.
Yeah.
They did a good job.
Yeah, they did a really good job. And like, we don't know much about black metal history, but it seems to me 1994 is a bit early to be doing the orchestral stuff that they were doing. Like, I feel like they were probably one of the forerunners of like that kind of inclusion, like expanding the genre, which to me, I've said it before, black metal to me as a genre is it's a genre within metal that has grown and evolved the most.
It has grown a lot,
and it seems to me it has like the largest range where you can go from, you know, a band like, I think it's the name of the band is Mayhem, to, you know, Satyricon. Like, we did a Satyricon song before. They had a full orbed orchestra.
Yeah.
The Mayhem to Satyricon, and then another group like Magua that's completely different. Like, black metal is just crazy. Crazy.
I love it when songs encompass a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of versatility in it.
Yeah, it was all over the place.
Yeah.
Like, it definitely had that true cult, you know, black metal feel at the beginning, and then they were just, you could tell they were just like, man, we're going to go off the range here and
put it all in there.
Like, do something really crazy. Okay. What do you give the song?
You go first.
I'm gonna give this song a 9.7.
What do you think I was gonna give it?
9.6.
That's so unbelievable. Even when you do it the other way, you still one up me. Yes, 9.6.
9.6. Really, really good song, man. Really good song. Shout out to was it Daniel?
Yep, Daniel.
Shout out to the big homie Daniel. That was a really good, solid pick, bro. I appreciate it. All right, there you are, dear listener. The moral of the story is if you think you're gonna beat up,
stay vengeance for the Lord. If
you think you're gonna beat up Jesus and God the Father, God's not mad at you. He's laughing at you. And if you're a Christian, you have no reason. You can't be violent. You just have to let people kill you and take your stuff. And I'm being serious. I'm not joking.
That's what we're supposed to do. Doesn't mean that's what we're gonna do, but that's what we're supposed to do.
Right. Please don't do that with me.
Please don't test it. As you know, we are not perfect fucking Christians.
Did you say we're not perfect? We have to get out of here before my wife gets smitten.